First contact. The station hung in the void like a forgotten ornament, its once gleaming hull now dulled with cosmic dust and silent neglect. Maya Okafor had expected many things when she accepted this solar research mission to Outpost Helios, but total abandonment wasn't one of them. The artificial gravity stuttered as she made her way through the deserted corridors, her footsteps echoing in spaces meant for dozens. "Control, this is Science Officer Okafor," she said into her comm unit for the 20th time. Still no sign of the research team. Station power is minimal. No emergency protocols have been activated. She paused, listening to the static that had been her only response since arriving, beginning systematic search of the facility. The 12-person crew had gone silent 3 weeks ago. Their last transmission mentioned a breakthrough with Project Aurania, classified research that even Maya's top-level clearance hadn't fully revealed. All she knew was that it involved xenobiology from the Cygnus conflict, those strange serpentine beings humans had encountered at the edge of explored space. The central laboratory doors were sealed with emergency protocols. Maya overrode them with her command codes, surprised when they actually worked. The airlock hissed as it equalized pressure, revealing darkness beyond. Her helmet lights swept across abandoned workstations, knocked over chairs, tablets still displaying half-finished data entries. "Something made them leave in a hurry," she murmured, recording her observations. No signs of violence, no blood, just abandonment. A soft sound caught her attention, the whisper of movement from the far side of the lab. Maya's hand instinctively moved to her sidearm, though she'd never fired it outside of training. "Hello," she called. "I'm Science Officer Maya Okafor of the Terran Alliance. I'm here to help." Silence answered her, then another subtle movement. Maya approached slowly, her helmet lights illuminating the containment area, where specialized habitats had been constructed. Most were empty, but the largest central chamber still hummed with power. Inside, something moved within a mist of greenish light. "I won't hurt you," Maya said, not knowing if whatever was inside could understand. She approached the terminal and accessed the containment logs. Pro-GCTOURANI. Specimen S7. Statubis. Active. Dane GR Oliviel. Extreme. Arning. Do note establish direct visual contact. Maya frowned. "What were they doing here?" she whispered. The terminal showed life signs, strong ones, and a genetic profile unlike anything she'd ever seen. Part Cygnus alien, part something else entirely, with human DNA spliced throughout. An engineered being. A weapon. The glass of the containment chamber suddenly cleared as proximity sensors detected her presence. The mist parted, and Maya found herself face to face with the most beautiful and terrifying creature she had ever seen. The being's upper body resembled a woman's, but with skin that shifted between emerald and gold, catching light in iridescent patterns. Where hair should be, writhing serpents grew from her scalp, each with intelligent eyes that focused independently. Her lower body extended into a powerful serpentine tail coiled beneath her. But it was her eyes that held Maya, golden with vertical pupils, ancient and knowing. Your specimen S7, Maya whispered, knowing she should look away according to the warnings but finding herself unable to. The being tilted her head, serpents swaying gently. Then, to Maya's astonishment, she spoke. "They called me Seraphina." Her voice was melodic yet strange, as if multiple voices spoke in perfect harmony. "You're the first to look at me directly in a very long time." Maya realized she'd been holding her breath. "Why shouldn't I look at you?" A sad smile curved Seraphina's lips. "Because my gaze turns flesh to stone," or so they believed. Maya glanced at her readings. "But I'm fine." "Yes," Seraphina said, moving closer to the glass. "You are. Fascinating." The station's lights flickered, and an alarm sounded briefly before cutting out. Maya checked her tablet. The station's orbit was decaying. They had perhaps 3 days before it would begin to break apart in the planet's atmosphere. "Where is everyone?" Maya asked, looking around the abandoned lab. "Gone," Serafina said simply. "They looked at me one morning and saw only what they feared. They fled. All except Dr. Petrova. She did not survive her fear." Maya swallowed hard. "Did you harm her?" "No." Serafina's serpents curled protectively around her face. "She harmed herself trying to destroy me. She believed I had somehow corrupted the others, that I was controlling their minds." She uncurled slightly. "I was not. I cannot." But she couldn't see past her fear. The station groaned as its stabilizers fought against the degrading orbit. Maya knew she needed to act quickly, either leave immediately on her shuttle, or find a way to stabilize the station. Both options presented challenges, but leaving meant abandoning this incredible being to her death. "I need to check the station's systems," Maya said, already calculating what it would take to bring Helios back to stable orbit. "I'll come back." "You should leave," Serafina said softly. "Save yourself. I was created to die." Maya paused at the door. "Were you?" "Why?" "Because I was made to be a weapon. But weapons aren't supposed to think, to feel, to question. I was their mistake." Maya felt something stir within her, compassion, curiosity, and something else she couldn't quite name. "I don't leave people behind, even unexpected ones." As Maya worked over the next 12 hours to restore the station's main systems, she kept returning to the lab. Serafina watched her curiously, answering questions about the station's final days and the research that had created her. Maya learned that Serafina was engineered from Cygnus genetic material combined with ancient Earth myths of the Gorgon, designed to create terror in an enemy, to be deployed as a psychological weapon more than a physical one. "They made you to be feared," Maya said, working on the lab terminal as they talked. "Yes," Serafina agreed, "but they miscalculated. The Cygnus beings cannot be shaped so easily. Their consciousness adapts. And when they added human DNA for stability," she gestured to herself, "I became something unexpected." The containment field finally disengaged with a soft hum. Maya had been slowly reducing it, testing her theory. The door slid open, and Serafina remained perfectly still, her golden eyes wide with disbelief. "You're freeing me, after what I told you?" Maya nodded. "I don't believe you're a weapon, and we need to work together to save this station." Serafina slithered forward hesitantly, her powerful tail moving with sinuous grace. Outside the containment field, she was even more magnificent, nearly 7 feet tall when fully extended. The serpents in her hair moved with curiosity, some reaching toward Maya. "You still don't fear me," Serafina observed. "Why?" Maya considered for a moment. "Because you've had plenty of opportunities to harm me and haven't. Because you speak with compassion about the very people who imprisoned you. But mostly," she smiled, "because I've spent my life studying the universe, and I've learned that fear is often just ignorance in disguise." Serafina's serpents settled calmly, and she extended a hand with webbed fingers. "Then we will save this station together, Maya Okafor, and perhaps discover why your eyes can meet mine without turning to stone." As Maya took the offered hand, the station shuddered again. But this time, it wasn't the orbit. Warning lights flashed across the terminals. "We have a new problem," Maya said, checking the alerts. "Someone else has docked with the station, and I don't think they're here to rescue us." Understanding. The station's security feeds showed 6 figures in tactical gear moving methodically through the docking bay. Their insignia wasn't Terran Alliance, it was the Diamond and Spear of Helix Corporation, the private military contractor that had originally funded Project Arania. "They've come for me," Serafina said, her voice eerily calm. "They must have monitored the station's systems and seen that my containment was compromised." Maya quickly downloaded the station schematics to her tablet. "They don't know I'm here. My shuttle's registered under Research Division, not military." She studied the layout. We need to reach the auxiliary control room. From there, we can lock down sections of the station and maybe find a way to communicate with Alliance Command. Moving through the station with Serafina was surreal. The serpentine alien glided silently beside her, occasionally using her powerful tail to help them navigate damaged sections where gravity fluctuated. The serpents in her hair seemed to function as additional sensory organs, alerting them to changes in air currents and temperature. "They're splitting up," Serafina whispered as they hid in a maintenance shaft. Two heading toward the lab, the others searching systematically. Maya glanced at her curiously. "How do you know that?" "I can sense them. Their fear creates a signature. The Cygnus race evolved as empathic hunters. Is that why you don't affect me?" "Because I'm not afraid." Serafina tilted her head. "Perhaps. The scientists theorized that my abilities were psychosomatic, that I projected an energy field that triggered a fatal fear response, essentially causing the victim's brain to shut down. But that was speculation. They never truly understood what they created." They'd reached the auxiliary control room without encountering the Helix team. Maya secured the door and began working on the systems while Serafina kept watch. "I can restore communications," Maya said, "but it'll alert them to our location." "How long until your alliance could respond?" "Hours, at least. We'd need to." Maya was cut off by the station's alert system. "Attention. Life support systems compromised in sectors 3 through 7. Emergency protocols engage." Serafina's serpents bristled. "They're venting the atmosphere, section by section. They'll find us eventually." Maya worked faster, bypassing security protocols. "They're trying to force you out. They must want you alive." "I was expensive to create," Serafina said with bitter humor. "Tell me, Maya Okafor, why are you helping me?" "Your mission must have been to assess what happened here, perhaps retrieve valuable research. I am that research." Maya paused, her fingers hovering over the controls. It was a fair question. By all rights, she should be securing Serafina for transport back to Alliance headquarters. That was protocol. "Because you deserve better," she finally said. "Because I joined the science division to discover new life and help humanity understand it, not exploit it. And because," she smiled faintly, "in the 12 hours I've known you, you've shown more humanity than those people hunting you." Serafina moved closer, her tail curling around the base of Maya's chair. "May I show you something?" she asked softly. When Maya nodded, Serafina gently placed her webbed fingers against Maya's temples. Immediately, Maya's mind was flooded with images, sensations, memories not her own. The pain of creation in sterile labs, the confusion of awakening with knowledge, but no experience, the loneliness of containment, and the terrible hope that had bloomed when the scientists began to see her as more than a weapon. "You feel everything so deeply," Maya whispered when the connection broke. "Too deeply, for what I was meant to be." Serafina withdrew her hand. The scientists realized too late that by splicing human DNA to stabilize my form, they gave me human capacity for emotion, for connection. Dr. Petrova wanted to terminate me. The others couldn't bring themselves to do it, but they feared what I represented, a weapon with conscience. The door shuddered as something heavy struck it. The Helix team had found them. "We need a new plan," Maya said, downloading what data she could to her tablet. "The main hangar has my shuttle, but they'll be guarding it now." Serafina's gaze fixed on something beyond Maya. "There's another way. The station has escape pods in the research wing. Emergency protocols would prevent them from being locked down." The door buckled under another impact. They had moments at most. "Lead the way," Maya said, grabbing her equipment. They escaped through a maintenance duct as the door finally gave way. Maya heard shouts behind them, then the distinctive sound of pulse rifles charging. "They're authorized to use lethal force," Serafina said as they moved quickly through the narrow passageway. "They will kill you and take me." "Not going to happen," Maya replied, more confident than she felt. They emerged in a research lab 2 sections away. Through the viewport, Maya could see the curve of the planet below, beautiful and indifferent to their plight. The station's orbit had degraded further. They had less time than she'd calculated. "Maya," Serafina said suddenly, her voice strange. "I can feel them. All of them. Their fear, their determination, but also something else." She turned to Maya, her golden eyes wide. "Some of them are like me, engineered, not fully human." "Helix has been experimenting with bioweapons for decades," Maya said grimly. "The Alliance suspected, but could never prove it." She checked her tablet. "The escape pods are 1 level down." As they moved through the station, Maya noticed that Serafina seemed increasingly agitated, her serpents writhing more actively, her movements less fluid. "What's wrong?" she asked during a momentary pause. "Being this close to them, I can feel them trying to influence me. The non-human ones. They're attempting to activate something in me. Dormant programming, perhaps. Can you resist it?" Serafina's golden eyes met hers. "For now, your presence helps. You are a tether." They had almost reached the escape pod bay when the lights cut out completely. Emergency power kicked in, bathing the corridor in red. "They've taken control of primary systems," Maya said. A voice echoed through the station's comms. "Specimen S7, we know you can hear us. Your conditioning remains active. Return to containment immediately." Serafina stiffened, her pupils narrowing to thin slits. For a brief moment, Maya saw something ancient and terrifying flash across her face. "Serafina," Maya said firmly, grasping the alien's scaled arm. "Look at me. Stay with me." The serpentine woman blinked rapidly, the momentary alienness receding. I can feel the command structures activating. They built fail-safes into my mind. Fight it. You're more than what they made you to be." A mechanical whirring sound came from both ends of the corridor. Security doors were closing, trapping them. "The escape pods," Maya urged, pulling Serafina toward the final door. They barely made it through before the security door sealed behind them. The escape pod bay was small, with 5 pods designed for emergency evacuation. Maya hurried to the nearest one, activating the launch sequence. "Get in," she said, holding the pod door open. Instead of complying, Serafina moved to the bay controls. "They'll track an escape pod launch immediately. We don't have a choice. The station's breaking up." Serafina turned to her, serene determination in her golden eyes. "Yes, we do. I can create a distraction." "No," Maya said firmly. "Whatever you're thinking, no. We go together." "Maya Okafor," Serafina said, her voice carrying that strange harmonic quality. "You have shown me kindness when no one else would. But you cannot save me if it means your own destruction." Before Maya could respond, the bay door exploded inward. 3 Helix operatives stormed through, weapons raised. 2 appeared human, but the third had an unsettling quality. Skin too smooth, movements too precise. "Step away from the specimen, officer," the lead operative ordered. Maya placed herself between the operatives and Serafina. "She's not a specimen. She's a sentient being under Alliance protection." The operative snorted. "Alliance has no jurisdiction here. This is Helix property." "People aren't property," Maya countered. "That thing isn't people," the operative said coldly. "Now move, or we'll move you permanently." Maya felt Serafina shift behind her. The temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees. "Don't look at me," Serafina whispered to Maya. Then, louder, "I will return to containment. Do not harm her." The serpents in Serafina's hair rose like cobras, her eyes beginning to emit a faint golden glow. Maya kept her gaze firmly on the operatives, remembering Serafina's warning. "Specimen is attempting psychic attack," the inhuman operative said mechanically. "Deploying countermeasures." He raised a device towards Serafina, but before he could activate it, she unleashed whatever power she had been restraining. Maya didn't see exactly what happened, but she heard the gasping, then the heavy thuds of bodies hitting the floor. "Now we go," Serafina said, her voice strained. "They'll send more." Maya finally looked back. The operatives lay on the floor, not dead but paralyzed, their eyes wide with something beyond terror. Serafina herself looked weakened, her color faded to a dull bronze. "What did you do to them?" "Showed them their deepest fears. It won't last long." Serafina moved toward the escape pod. "We need to leave before the others sense what happened." As they entered the cramped escape pod, Maya initiated the launch sequence. The pod was designed for 2 humans, making it a tight fit with Serafina's tail. As the door sealed, the station's alert system announced, "Warning. Catastrophic structural failure imminent. All personnel evacuate immediately." Perfect timing, Maya muttered as the pod disengaged from the station. Through the small viewport, they watched as other sections of the station began to break apart, consumed by atmospheric friction. "Where will we go?" Serafina asked quietly as the pod's thrusters engaged, sending them toward the planet's surface. Maya studied the navigation system. "There's an Alliance outpost on the northern continent. We can request extraction there." She looked at Serafina, taking in her weakened state. "Will you be all right?" "Using my abilities drains me. I'll recover." Serafina's serpents had gone almost still, moving only occasionally in slow, tired motions. "What you did back there, was that what they designed you for?" Serafina was quiet for so long that Maya thought she might not answer. Finally, she said, in part, "They wanted a weapon that could incapacitate without physical damage. Something that could subjugate through fear alone." Her golden eyes, dimmer now, met Maya's. "But they didn't understand that to project fear, one must understand it intimately. They gave me that burden without realizing it." The pod shuddered as it hit the upper atmosphere. Maya secured their harnesses as the descent grew rougher. "Why can't I affect you, Maya?" Serafina asked suddenly. "Everyone else I've ever encountered either fears me or wants to control me. But not you." Maya thought carefully before answering. "Maybe because when I look at you, I don't see a weapon. I see someone searching for their place in the universe." She smiled. "Like me." As the escape pod hurtled toward the planet's surface, Maya realized that in trying to create the perfect weapon, Helix had instead created something much more powerful, a bridge between 2 species, a being capable of understanding both human and alien consciousness. And in doing so, they had inadvertently opened a door to something beyond their imagining. The question now was whether humanity was ready to step through it. Freedom. The escape pod crashed through the dense canopy of an alien forest, its impact softened by massive fern-like plants that collapsed beneath its weight. Emergency systems deployed, filling the cabin with stabilizing foam that protected its occupants from the worst of the landing. When the foam finally dissolved, Maya found herself pressed against Serafina, the serpentine woman's powerful tail wrapped protectively around her. "Are you injured?" Serafina asked, her golden eyes scanning Maya intently. Maya conducted a quick self-assessment. "Bruised, but functional." "You?" "This body was designed to endure." Serafina unwound herself gracefully, helping Maya to her feet. "But we should move quickly. The pod's beacon will have activated." They emerged into a landscape of towering purple-hued vegetation and swirling mist. The planet, designated Theta 9, had been partially surveyed by Alliance teams, but remained largely unexplored. Its atmosphere was breathable, but dense with moisture that created a perpetual twilight beneath the forest canopy. Maya consulted her tablet, now cracked but still functional. The Alliance outpost is approximately 20 kilometers northeast. In this terrain, that's at least a day's journey. Serafina's serpents tasted the air, moving with renewed vigor. "Something about this place resonates with me. The Tignis DNA, perhaps." She glided forward, her movements more fluid than Maya had seen before. "I can navigate here. Follow me." They traveled in silence for several hours, Serafina effortlessly finding paths through the dense undergrowth, while Maya documented their surroundings, habit, and scientific curiosity, compelling her even in their desperate situation. The serpentine woman seemed to gain strength from the environment, her scales gleaming brighter, her movements more confident. "They'll come after us," Maya said eventually, breaking the silence. "Helix has too much invested in you to simply let you go." "Yes," Serafina agreed, helping Maya across a narrow ravine. "And your alliance? What will they do when presented with me?" It was the question Maya had been avoiding. By alliance protocols, Serafina should be contained, studied, possibly even weaponized, especially with the ongoing tensions between human colonies and the Cygnus Dominion. "I don't know," she admitted, "but I have colleagues who would fight for your rights. Scientists who believe in communication rather than conflict." Serafina's expression was unreadable. "And if they decide I'm too dangerous, then we find another solution," Maya said firmly. "I didn't save you from one cage to put you in another." As dusk deepened the forest's shadows, they made camp in the hollow of a massive tree, whose interior phosphorescence provided gentle illumination. Maya shared her emergency rations, while Serafina seemed to absorb nutrients directly through her scales from the moist air. "Tell me about your world," Serafina requested as they rested. "Not the science or the politics. Tell me about being human." Maya smiled, settling back against the curved interior of the tree. "That's a big question. We have time." So Maya spoke of Earth's oceans and mountains, of music and art, of family traditions and childhood memories. She described the sensation of rain on skin, the taste of fresh fruit, the comfort of belonging. Throughout, Serafina listened with such intensity that Maya felt truly seen in a way she rarely had before. "You speak of connection," Serafina observed when Maya finally fell silent. "That seems to be the essence of humanity, finding meaning through bonds with others. Isn't it the same for all conscious beings?" "Perhaps." Serafina's serpents curled thoughtfully. "The Cygnus collective consciousness is different, less individuated, more fluid. The scientists who made me tried to suppress that aspect while emphasizing the predatory nature." She extended her hand, showing webbed fingers that ended in retractable claws. "They wanted the weapon without the wisdom." Maya took the offered hand, examining it with scientific interest that couldn't entirely mask her more personal fascination. "They failed, though. You retained both." "Because of you," Serafina said softly. "Your presence stabilizes me. Your lack of fear allows me to be more than my design." The moment stretched between them, filled with unspoken possibilities. Then Maya's tablet chimed. An emergency alert. "Multiple aircraft detected in the vicinity," she read, tension returning to her body. "Helix found us faster than I expected." Serafina moved to the entrance of their shelter, her serpents alert and agitated. "There's something else approaching as well. Something familiar." Before Maya could question her, the ground trembled beneath them. Through gaps in the foliage, they glimpsed massive shapes moving through the forest. Serpentine forms larger than buildings, gliding with impossible grace between the giant trees. "Cygnus," Maya whispered in awe. "True Cygnus. But that's impossible. They've never come this far into Alliance territory." "They've come for me," Serafina said with quiet certainty. "They feel the call of their own DNA, twisted though it is in my form." Maya felt a sudden, irrational fear, not of the alien beings approaching, but of losing Serafina to them. "Will you go with them?" Serafina turned to her, genuine conflict in her golden eyes. "I don't know what I am, Maya. Not human, not truly Cygnus. Perhaps they can help me understand." The sounds of aircraft grew louder, competing with the subtle vibrations of the massive Cygnus entities. They were caught between two forces, each wanting Serafina for their own purposes. "We need to move," Maya said, gathering her equipment. "Get to the outpost before either side finds us." They traveled through the night, the forest bioluminescence providing just enough light to navigate by. The Helix aircraft circled overhead, using thermal scanners that were partially confused by the planet's geothermal activity. The Cygnus beings moved more patiently, their massive forms settling into the landscape as if becoming part of it, waiting. Dawn broke as they reached the edge of a vast clearing. In the center stood the Alliance outpost, a prefabricated structure surrounded by monitoring equipment and a small landing pad. But between them and safety lay open ground with no cover. "They'll see us immediately," Maya said, studying the terrain. "And I'm picking up Helix signatures already in the vicinity. They must have deployed ground teams." Seraphina's serpents suddenly all focused in the same direction. "They're here." From the forest behind them emerged 3 Helix operatives, the same enhanced soldiers from the station, now joined by what appeared to be their commander. His partially visible exoskeleton suggested extensive biomodification. "Specimen S7, the commander called. "Your potential is wasted with these naturals. Return to us, and we'll complete what you were meant to be." Seraphina straightened to her full height, serpents flaring. "I am not your weapon." "No." The commander smiled coldly. "Then what are you?" "Not human. Not Cygnus. A thing between worlds, belonging nowhere." Maya saw doubt flicker across Seraphina's face and stepped forward. "She belongs where she chooses to belong. That's what freedom means." The commander laughed. "Charming idealism, Officer Okafor. Your file mentioned that weakness." He gestured to his team. "Take them both, the specimen intact, the human, as necessary." Before the soldiers could move, the ground beneath them heaved. Massive serpentine forms erupted from the earth, true Cygnus beings, their bodies translucent and luminous, stretching 30 meters or more. Unlike Seraphina's humanoid upper body, these creatures were entirely serpentine, with multiple sensory clusters along their length that pulsed with internal light. The Helix team immediately opened fire, their weapons causing ripples of distress across the Cygnus beings' surfaces, but no apparent damage. In response, the air filled with a harmonic resonance that made Maya's vision blur and her thoughts scatter. "They're communicating," Seraphina gasped, her own body resonating in response. They recognize the violation of their genetic material. They want restoration. The Cygnus beings surrounded them, creating a barrier between the humans and Seraphina. One massive form lowered itself to Seraphina's level, its sensory clusters pulsing in patterns that seemed to communicate directly with her. "What are they saying?" Maya asked, fighting the disorientation caused by the harmonic field. "They offer belonging. Return to the collective consciousness. Dissolution of this form." Seraphina's voice was distant, entranced. "No more isolation. No more being between worlds." Maya felt her heart constrict. "Would you want that?" Seraphina turned to her, conflict evident in every line of her body. "I don't know. Part of me yearns for it. An end to this separateness. But another part," her gaze locked with Maya's, "another part has learned to value individuality, connection, choice." The Helix commander shouted over the harmonic resonance. "You were created to bridge worlds, S7, to understand alien consciousness and exploit it. Don't throw that away." The words seemed to catalyze something in Seraphina. She straightened, her serpents rising proudly. "You're right," she called back. "I was created to bridge worlds, but not to conquer, not to exploit." She turned to the Cygnus being, her hand extended toward its luminous form. To understand. What happened next occurred at multiple levels simultaneously. Visibly, Seraphina's scales began to glow with the same internal luminescence as the Cygnus beings. The harmonic resonance changed, becoming something Maya could feel rather than hear, a communication that bypassed language entirely. The Helix soldiers dropped their weapons, overwhelmed by the psychic backlash. Maya herself felt waves of emotion, not her own. Ancient patience, curiosity, recognition of kinship, and a deep sadness for something twisted from its natural form. Then, as suddenly as it had begun, the resonance faded. The sickness beings withdrew slightly, still present but less imposing. Seraphina stood between them and the humans, changed somehow, her posture more confident, her glow stabilized to a gentle radiance. "They understand now," she said, her voice carrying new harmonics. "And so do I." "Understand what?" Maya asked, stepping closer despite her residual awe. "My purpose, not as a weapon, but as what you said, a bridge." Seraphina turned to the Helix commander, who was struggling to regain his composure. "The sickness do not wish war with humanity. They never did. The conflict arose from mutual misunderstanding, fear feeding fear." The commander snarled, "That's not your assessment to make, specimen. You belong to Helix." "No," came a new voice. From the direction of the Alliance outpost, a team of officers approached, weapons ready but not raised. Their leader, a gray-haired woman with commander insignia, surveyed the scene with remarkable composure given the massive alien beings still partially emerged from the ground. "Commander Chen," Maya said with relief. "Alliance Special Diplomatic Corps." Chen nodded to Maya before addressing the Helix commander. "Your corporation's illegal experimentation with alien genetic material violates 17 different treaties. These violations have been transmitted to Alliance headquarters and the Interstellar Regulatory Commission." She gestured to her team, who moved to secure the Helix operatives. Then she turned to Seraphina with undisguised fascination. "And you must be the result of Project Urania. The reports hardly did you justice." Seraphina inclined her head. "I am Seraphina. Neither human nor Cygnus, but something new." Her serpents moved gracefully as she spoke. "And I offer myself as mediator between your peoples." Chen's eyebrows rose. "That would be unprecedented." "As am I," Seraphina replied simply. Maya stepped forward. "Commander, Seraphina saved my life multiple times. She resisted programming designed to make her a weapon. She deserves recognition as a sentient being with full rights, not a research subject." Chen studied them both thoughtfully. "The diplomatic corps has been seeking a way to open meaningful dialogue with the sickness for years. If what you're suggesting is possible." She glanced at the massive beings that remained half-emerged from the forest floor, watching the proceedings with alien patience. "Come to the outpost," she finally said. "All of you. We have much to discuss." As they walked across the clearing, Maya fell into step beside Seraphina. "Are you sure about this? Becoming a mediator means placing yourself between two worlds, belonging fully to neither." Seraphina's tail moved sinuously as she considered. Perhaps belonging isn't about finding where you fit perfectly, but about creating a new space where you can be fully yourself. Her golden eyes met Maya's. "The sickness offered me dissolution, a return to their collective consciousness. It would have been peaceful, but incomplete." "Why?" "Because then I would never know what it means to be an individual making choices, to form connections that are chosen, not inherent." Her hand brushed Maya's briefly. "I would never know what it means to be seen as